participants and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to all of you for attending the third keynote speaker session. And first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Muhammad Sharifuddin bin Ahmad from Faculty of Maritime Studies, University Malaysia Terengganu, and I will be the chairperson for the sessions. Before we proceed, let me introduce briefly about our special speaker today. Yang berbahagia Dato' Dr. Michael Teo's entrepreneurial journey start from a very young age when he started exporting luxury pre-owned vehicle to Malaysia while studying in the UK. He returned to Malaysia in 1996 to grow the family business in PKT Logistics Group. With his philosophy, dream of it, talk about it, plan for it, work on it, and get it, he led PKT to be a socially responsible company providing niche logistics services with presence in Malaysia, South Korea, Taiwan, and most ASEAN countries. As the group executive and managing directors, he transformed PKT to be Facebook compulsory company while gaining over 1.7 million Facebook followers on his own profile. Yang berbahagia Datuk Seri Dr. Michael Teo active contributions to various local education institutions saw him appointed as an adjunct professor by University Utara Malaysia and was also conferred the Honorary Doctor of Philosophy and Logistic Management by UUM in November 2018. His accolades include the Star SOBA Entrepreneur of the year 2012, Sinchu Business Excellent Person of the year 2014, and Frost & Sullivan Niche Logistics Service Providers of the year 2015. Yang berbahagia Datuk Seri Dr. Michael Teo was awarded the Best CEO Award by the Educational Ministry of Malaysia under the CEO Faculty Program in 2019. Yang berbahagia Datuk Seri will present his topic entitled Logistic Transformation in Malaysia. So without any further ado, I would like to invite Yang berbahagia Datuk Seri Dr. Michael Teo to deliver his speech. The floor is yours, Datuk. Please unmute, Dato'. Dato' Seri, please unmute your speaker, your mic. Dato' Seri, please unmute your mic, Dato' Seri.
Okay, hold on.
All right.
I think the organizer also tried to unmute for me. So, okay, anyway, good morning, everyone. I know this is a Sunday morning. I might not get a lot of crowd at the moment. Hopefully you can share this talk because it's very important for the logistics industry and also for the student that is studying logistics in Malaysia, because a lot of you do not know what is the future of logistics in Malaysia. That is why I chose the topic to talk about this transformation of logistics in Malaysia. Okay, now my talks will break into 3 segments. I will start with giving you the global view about logistics supply chain at the moment, global supply chain, and how did COVID-19 affect the whole thing, disrupted the global supply chain, and then followed by ASEAN logistics environment, where the race to become the next ASEAN logistics hub, basically at the moment the leader we know is Singapore. And we would like to know how and who will be the next ASEAN logistics hub if Singapore to lose to their position as the leading hub in ASEAN. And then followed by how did PKT transform ourselves holding the flag, Malaysian national flag, to lead the industry to transform towards a direction to become a leading logistics in the in ASEAN country. Okay, so slide please. So my slide is not out yet. Hold on. Okay, right. Can you see the slide? The slide is on the number 3rd slide already. Okay, very well. Okay, so move on to the next slide, Linda. Okay, so like I said, first, how does COVID-19 affect global supply chain? And then number 2, I will be talking about the race to be the next ASEAN logistics hub. Very interesting. And then the PKT transformation program, where we bring ourselves to the level we are today. So, and also we show you who we are and all our logistics hub in the critical part of Malaysia. Okay, next slide. Now, for you generally to see the shipping movement, when you see the slides here, you are talking about all the movement of trade where the container move. Okay, basically, Selat Malacca is very important for the whole world because from US, go through the Cape of Good Hope and then go to Selat Malacca and then go to China. And then China's vice versa will go through Selat Malacca, Strait of Malacca, and go through the Suez Canal to go to the Europe. Okay, so every route from Europe and USA will have to go through the Strait of Malacca and to go to Asia, China. Okay, so talking about the COVID-19. So the whole thing started from China, where China started the lockdown in January to March. So when you lock down means the production stop. When production stop means what do you call that? The container will move to China and the production stop. They cannot clear the container and then use the container. So that's why container all stuck in the port. Then because of that, there will be imbalance of container from one direction because all the container return back to China, but not going out, not unstuffing and no stuffing of finished goods and cannot move to the European country. But sooner or later, somewhere in March, the European Union start to lock down, followed by America also lock down, where the container shift, when they moved back to the US one, they couldn't come out also. The finished goods that delivered to the US and Europe, they couldn't unstuff and they couldn't bring it out also. So this caused a major disruption in the world container positioning. So because of that, there is an acute shortage of containers around the world. Okay, and because of that, then the ocean freight has increased. So the ocean freight increase means the cost of things has increased. So that's why you might even think, oh, we are having a recession, why the price increase? Why in US is talking about inflation at a very dangerous rates because of all this scenario. Next. Next, please. So the headlines all over the world now, if you read, students, you can actually do a lot of newspaper cutting and whatnot, because these are all the data, all the information, proof that the whole world supply chain has been disrupted due to this pandemic. Okay, shortage of container, port congestion, you know, and people are queuing to offload their cargo when the port is already full. How can the ship arrive, discharge their containers some more? Okay, so that causes port congestion as well. Okay, next slide. And then coupled with a tragedy at Suez Canal, where the shipping line, one shipping line, Evergreen, okay, actually stuck at the canal and for almost 6 days, 6 days and 7 hours, and totally 369 ship was blocked from passing through this Suez Canal. It result in a big loss of 9.6 billion. Okay, and then because of that, ocean freight also have reason to increase as well. So in the previous talk, I overheard the professor from Sun Chun University. He talked about the possibility of having a this Kra Canal in Thailand. So if they were to have Kra Canal in Thailand, then if there is a congestion like this, it will cost billions of dollars for South Thai people, for Thailand. And on top of that, these Suez canals, we are diversifying away about 6,000 over kilometer so that they avoid traveling through the African continents, coming down to the Cape of Good Hope from Europe, and then go down to Malacca. So in order to avoid that, the Suez Canal actually helped them to save about 6,000 over kilometer. But then again, when you talk about Kra Canal, the possibility, which I see doesn't make commercial sense, is they only diverting about less than 1,000 kilometer, or only 1 to 2 days diversion only. So because of that, I don't foresee Kra Canal to come out. And on top of that, after the Suez Canal crisis, more and more people are worried because Suez Canal is only one single lane. So you can imagine that Selat Melaka is already so congested. If they open up the car canal, they need one lane or two lane. If it's one lane, you are going to have a problem with the ASEAN rail from Singapore, Malaysia, all the way to Thailand, then go to Laos, Cambodia, or Myanmar. So, and also ASEAN highway, what's going to happen to ASEAN highway? So it's going to be very problematic. And on top of that, Thailand government already faced a lot of problem with the South Thai. So they don't want to divide Thailand into two countries where north and south separated by another canal. So because of that, I do not foresee Kra Canal to come out because it doesn't make economic sense. And on top of that, shipping line business do not depend on single route traveling. Not like you pick up from Amsterdam, then you deliver all the way to China. That doesn't make money. The one that make money is you pick up from Amsterdam, you drop on the way to China, and then pick up again another cargo, go to Auckland, drop, and then pick up again, go to Singapore, drop and pick up again, then go to China. So this is how shipping line make business. So because of that, Kra Canal is very unlikely to happen. Next. Okay, next please. So how did Malaysia reacted to this COVID-19 crisis? So I would say that Malaysia, first, we actually do not know, nobody knows because the COVID-19 crisis is the mother of crisis, all the crisis. So because of that, nobody knows exactly how to react. So when Malaysia reacted that time, we actually stopped all the non-essential goods from moving, okay? So then we only allowed, the government only allowed essential goods. So that means that in the port, we can clear out the goods that is from essential, but we cannot clear the goods that's non-essential for almost 6 to 7 months, okay? So in between, every 4 weeks, they allow shipment to come out a little bit and a little bit, something like that. So because of that, there have become a huge congestion of Auckland as well, okay? Because of that, storage charges was incurred, demurrage charges due to the shipping cost was incurred, detention charges was incurred, and a lot of manufacturer that promised their supplier in Europe, they couldn't manufacture their product because their raw material was stuck in the port, okay? And vice versa, their factory also cannot open, so they cannot commit to supply to their supplier in overseas as well. So that caused a huge disruption in the whole economy of the whole supply chain globally. Malaysia also one of the playing a very important part of it, okay? Then we talk about now microchips. So at that time, microchips, you know that Malaysia, we are actually E&E country. We actually manufacture a lot of microchips over here, especially in Penang, back down in Johor and whatnot. So you'll be surprised that we are actually producing the brain of the computers all here. So due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the people shift the demand because due to the pandemic, people don't travel, you are in a lockdown. So what's the point of buying car? Car, nobody buy. Of course, during the pandemic, we are going into recession. People are worried about their future. Nobody would like to buy a luxury car at that time. So the only thing that is people buy due to the pandemic is computers. More and more people are using webinar. Even the students are using webinar for their school and classes and whatnot. So the business that search is selling computers. Okay, so computer needs to have computer microchips. So where the microchips come from? ASEAN country. So we produce a lot of them. And then again, what happened is because of the automotive industry is not moving, so most of the chips maker diversified their business from automotive to go into the computers. Okay, so when this thing happened, they shift the line to microchips, and the demand is so high and it's so profitable, so they started producing for microchips. But when the time they lift the lockdown and the consumer for cars start coming back again to buy cars, I remember Malaysian government tried to activate the car industry by giving sales tax exemption. Okay, so by that, then the car demand start coming back. So when the car demand start coming back, the car manufacturers start producing cars. Then they realize one thing: they don't have the microchips, the brain of the car. So then they start chasing after the brain of the car. That has caused a lot of disruption in the world, including car manufacturer, which cost a lot of money. Okay, so but then again, we learn from this lockdown that in the lockdown in MCO2, followed by MCO3, Malaysian government are more relaxed on the whole supply chain relief. Manufacturer factory were given were given chance to start their manufacturing and continue their manufacturing during this period. Okay, next slide. So that is an overview about the COVID-19 impact into in the world and also Malaysia itself. So let's look into the race to be the next ASEAN logistics hub. This is very interesting because we as a public, we do not see that. But then again, here I will show to you that there is a race going on in the ASEAN region who to become the next ASEAN logistics hub. So in this talk, I will talk to you about the top 5 ports in ASEAN. And on top of that, we will talk about the World Bank Logistics Performance Index, especially for ASEAN countries. So we do a comparison of the chart. Next, please. So if you look into the movement, you can see very clearly that Selat Malacca is the major traffic for the world to go to China and Asia. And then if you look into the port that is handling it, number 1 goes to Singapore. Singapore ports handle about 37 million TEUs. A few years ago, it was 30 million TEUs. Now, 37 million TEUs. And they're getting more and more. Okay. Number 2 is Port Klang at 12.3 million TEUs. Okay. And then number 3 is our Tanjung Pelepas as well. So Port Klang, 12.3 million TEUs. Tanjung Pelepas, about 12 million TEUs. That's quite huge. About maybe last year itself was only 2 million TEUs. So I think they have gone big over the last year. I heard due to the shift by Maersk Line, their grouping container from Singapore back to PTP as well. So because of that shift, the number in Tanjung Pelepas have grown tremendously. And also there was a movement by CMA-CGM to move their hub from Port Klang to Singapore. So then the other one come back here. So things are moving. There is a bit of competition going on within these 2 countries, these 3 ports. And then we have this Lam Chabang port with 8 million TEUs. And then Tanjung Priok at 7.6 TEUs, 7.6 million TEUs. So if you look at it, looks like Malaysia, if you combine Port Klang and Tanjung Pelepas, we are looking at 24 million TEUs behind Singapore, 37 million TEUs. Of course, the rest are quite far away. Lam Chabang port is a bit difficult to become a regional transshipment hub because of the fact that they are located in the Gulf of Thailand. And if you can see the movement of all the shipping in the dots here, you see that there are very few of them go into Thailand. And most of them actually skip Thailand, go straight to China, whatnot lah. Okay. So and then the problem with Tanjung Priok, as you know, is Indonesia the traffic is heavily congested. If you bring to Indonesia, you know you want to get from one point to another point within a kilometer, it can take you 1 hour. Okay, so that's why shipping container were not allowed to move in Indonesia during the daytime. They are only allowed at certain times. So that caused a lot of inefficiency, and that is why they are not growing. They are not growing also because they cannot be a transshipment port. One, that's why their volume cannot beat Singapore and Malaysia as well. And they only depend solely on their domestic demand. That means they are all real import for their factory and then real export from their factory as well. So because of that, that is the situation. So many years ago, when President Jokowi, when he was elected, when he tried to find out how to increase the FDI for the country, he actually know that their logistics is very poor. They actually decided to ease the congestion in Indonesia, but they have another problem, the land acquisition problem. For Indonesia to acquire land, they have to go through many laws. So unlike Malaysia, you know, our government can acquire the land to build a highway easily. They just compensate you. But in Indonesia, they can't compensate just like that. So they need to straighten the law because they have their federal law and also provisional law and so forth. Okay, so because of that, they don't have a very good infrastructure. They need to shift their port away from Tanjung Priok to a new location that is not near to the city center as well. They have planned for it, that this new port to come out, but then again, until today, we have not seen that moving. So the only possible challenge for us, if Singapore and Malaysia, is basically Indonesia, but they have not got their act together. That is why they are still very far apart. Let's evaluate the situation by looking at the Logistics Performance Index. Next. So if you look into the Logistics Performance Index, Singapore is number one. Okay, that's understood. Singapore is supposed to be number one because they are currently managing 37.2 million TEUs of container. But number two is supposed to be Port Klang, right? So in the Logistics Performance Index, number two is not Port Klang. Number two is not Malaysia. Number two is Thailand. Okay. Then number three is Vietnam. Okay, Vietnam has beat us already. Okay. And then number four is Malaysia. And number five is Indonesia. As I told you before, they are very well behind. But then again, we are also moving behind and closer to them. By right, we should be closer to Singapore. Before this, maybe about 2014, we were behind Singapore. Somehow or rather, we have lost our ranking, and now we are very far behind under the ranking of 41. So if you look at it in terms of custom clearance, custom issues, so you know there's a lot of custom arguments going on in Malaysia. But Singapore, in Thailand, don't talk about Singapore. So we compare Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia. Number one is Thailand. Somehow or rather, Thailand have got their act together. Probably they have done their EDI. Malaysia EDI is still not in place. In the customs clearance process, we still need to have a face-to-face. We do EDI, then we have to print out the documents. My officers will bring it to the port and meet the officers and get them chopped and signed so that we can process the document. And I will say that Thailand, that process already gone. And not only that, the infrastructure side, we managed to beat the rest of the ASEAN country except Singapore at the 40th position. Thailand 41. They need to get their act together, build their highways and whatnot. Because we had the connectivity, we have done our double track already between Johor all the way to Bukit Kayu Hitam and Padang Besar. Okay, but Singapore, Thailand have not done that yet. So they are just a little bit behind us, followed by Vietnam and also Indonesia. I already explained the reason for the infrastructure is not ready. International shipment, surprisingly, we are behind Thailand. Now, the reason why we are behind Thailand is most likely because of the connectivity. Over the years, we have AirAsia, but AirAsia is also have base in Thailand, right? So AirAsia are actually bringing sea-wise in terms of port connectivity. We are number two already in ASEAN because Tanjung Pelepas and also Westport and Northport are all connecting to the world. But then the air side, we have a bit of problem because we have an intra-Asia connection, but we don't have a global connection. Whereas for Singapore, they have intra-Asia as global as well. Because for air freight, you need to deliver from Malaysia straight to the other country internationally. But then we don't have the international connection for the air freight side. Because when you talk about Logistics Performance Index, they are not talking about a ship only. They are talking about ship, land, and air. Okay. Logistics competency in terms of capability. how our knowledge on logistics competency, they have given Malaysia the third ranking behind Vietnam. So that is a bit disappointing because once long time ago we were actually far in front of them, and now we are behind them. So that is probably we are just only opening up our logistics industry. So knowledge has not ever transferred to us. You know, logistics in Malaysia, as I say, we have a problem about the efficiency, how fast we can handle the cargo. Okay, tracking and tracing. Surprisingly, we are very far. So this is a bit worry. We are even behind Indonesia. So we need to really back up here. And then timeliness, how fast and how on time we can be. And we are ranked last among ASEAN countries. So what are the major issues? Move to the next slide. Okay, so overall, just give you a summary from what I said just now. We have a comprehensive infrastructure. We have a nice airport, nice railway tracks, nice highway and whatnot. Okay, and we have AirAsia home in Malaysia to connect us within intra-Asia. But we have one big problem. We don't have the connectivity from Malaysia to the world. At the moment, Musk has cut down a lot of international routes. So that's why we are keep on deteriorating in our routes, because we don't even go to other than UK. There's no more routes going to Asia. We used to go to Paris, Amsterdam, and whatnot. All these major port in Europe countries. Okay, so we have restriction in licensing, EDI issue. Recently, MACC went and checked them. Why we have paid for the EDI and then not implemented? Lack of transparency. So OECD, next slide please, had done a report on Malaysia. They have come out with a lot of recommendation for Malaysia to change ourselves, basically telling us don't regulate so much of our industry, open up, especially the next slide. They want us to sign, next slide please. They want us to sign the ASEAN Framework Agreement, because out of the 10 ASEAN countries, 7 already signed. And then one of them is Malaysia. We have not signed. Because why? We are not ready. We keep on telling ourselves we are not ready, because a lot of industry keep on protecting themselves. Because of that, we cannot grow. Okay, when we cannot grow, we cannot compete. So, but then again, this ranking, logistics performance and ranking, doesn't reflect the volume the port is handling. Okay, because we are talking about port means sea-wise, sea shipment-wise. Logistics performance index is talking about overall. So who use logistics performance index? Most of the investor that invest when they into Malaysia, the FDI. So when they choose a country, they look at logistics performance index. That's why our two other countries, Vietnam have gotten the most investment during COVID-19 compared to Malaysia. Number 1 will be Vietnam, number 2 Thailand, number 3 will be Malaysia. Get a lot of investments from overseas now. Okay, next slide. So if Malaysia were to be the next ASEAN logistics hub, guys, how can we make it? How can we do it? So looking at the population wise, we are 32 million. Singapore is 5.6 million. Okay, logistics contribution to the GDP at the moment for Malaysia is 3.8%, or equivalent to 57 billion. And for Singapore is 96.8 billion ringgit equivalent, or 6.19%. Okay, the total employment for logistician in Malaysia is 667,000 according to OECD, and Singapore is 199,000. I don't know why they don't want to round out the figure to be 200,000. Okay, and then if you do that, you calculate the revenue per logistician. That means you divide the total revenue of 57 billion, divide by 667,000 Malaysian logistician. You get revenue per logistician of 85,500. Compared to Singapore is 485,000. So you can see that they are 5-folds our logistics revenue per employee, per logistician, revenue per logistician. So why? Because we are still doing the traditional labor-intensive logistics job. Okay, we call it 3PL. So this includes a lot of laborer usage and whatnot. Okay, whereas for Singapore, they are lack of labor, so they move up their value chain because they are the trading hub for a very, very long time. So obviously they know how to do in and out. Not only that they move the cargo, they move what is the content of the cargo. That means they also do procurement also. So one of the example is they are able to buy, let's say, lamb curry from Mongolia or China, Xinjiang. They import it to their country, then they repackage it into their local brand, give the sticker made in their country, get their certification for halal, and then re-export to other country. So this is high value logistics business, not only low value. So they do a lot of repackaging and rework that. So that's why I say Singapore has already moved to 4PL, 5PL, 6PL, and 7PL, whereas we are still doing 3PL and depends on manufacturer business only. So we are still very traditional. And they are a financial hub. So because they are financial hub, automatically they are also the distribution hub, where factory from all the world bring the cargo to Singapore, and then they do and pick and pack and then deliver to other countries. So that create an activity without manufacturing activity. So a lot of automation is involved because they are playing a regional hub. So when you have the big volume, you can automate the business. If you don't have the big volume, you cannot automate. Okay, so next slide, please. So now I have this crystal ball of me when I decided to come back from UK. The reason why I joined the logistics industry is because I see there is a big opportunity for logistics industry in Malaysia and ASEAN, because we are the manufacturer of the world. Okay, so so the future is to move up the value chain, and then what is going to happen is we estimated if Malaysia to get our act together, we are looking at possibility of pushing the number of logisticians in Malaysia up to 1 million by 2030. And then how we can do that? Next slide. Okay, so if we give the compound growth of our GDP of our country growth by 5%, normally for the last few years, we've always been growing about 5% per annum. So by the 2030, our GDP will reach 547 billion, okay? So if the logistics sector to contribute to the GDP were to grow to become like Singapore 6% or 6.5%, we are looking at the logistics revenue of 147 billion ringgit equivalent, okay, revenue. So minus the current revenue that we have, 57 billion, I told you just now, that employs 667,000 employee already. That's because we are doing 3PL. If we were to move up the value chain, become the global distribution hub or distribution hub for the region, and then these are the new revenue, we are looking at 90 billion new revenue. So, and then if the logistics, we were to move up the value chain also, then this we continue to move up the value chain every year. We improve our efficiency and our value chain by 10%, 10%, 10%. Come 2030, we will reach from 85,000 per logistician to become 221,000 per logistician. So if you divide that with the 90 billion new revenue, we are looking at 407,000 new logistician in the market. So plus the current one that we have 667,000, we are looking at by 2030, this logistics industry will employ about 1 million logistician. So for those people who are studying logistics, you are in the right industry. It is never sunset, because I came from the Europe. I was studying in UK. I could see the industry was booming. Even in UK, when they open up the economy, become European single community, Malaysia and other ASEAN countries are moving towards the direction to open up our economy to become a single economy soon. By 2025, they will start opening up. So we need to get our act together, get ourselves ready, because among all the other countries, Singapore will continue to become the financial hub, but Malaysia will become the ASEAN logistics hub, because our strategic location, 1,000 kilometers facing the Selat of Malacca. Okay, so next, then talk about myself, you know, why I'm involved in this logistics business. I was happily in the UK after graduation, doing my used car business, exporting it back to Malaysia and making good money, you know. But this is called active income. So if I work, I get money. If I don't work, I don't get money. So in 1996, next slide, please. In that slide was when I was studying. I was already also working. So and then in 1996, I was asked to come back for national service. I'm not talking about Malaysia lah. I'm talking about my family actually. There's no successor in this business. At that time, we were only forwarding company, forwarding agent. So my parents asked me to come back and take over the family business. That is where I say I came back for national service. My own business, I was making good money. I come back and then take a salary of 2,000 ringgit per month. Okay, so a big sacrifice. Next slide. Next, please. Gem. Okay, so when I came back, of course, growing the business like normal, and then in 2008, world financial crisis. In every crisis, we do a transformation. So this was the 2008 world financial crisis. We decide to transform ourselves. We call it PKT transformation program. We focus on company first and then followed by employee. Okay, for company, we create vision and mission. And then for employee, we create cultures so that we can manage our company like how the MNC player does it. Okay, so in terms of vision, we came up with 3 wawasan. Linda? Okay, so we came up with a 60-40 vision, ASEAN 30 and 1B. 60-40 is just to diversify our verticals, the industry of focus for our logistics, because in the logistics industry, there is many verticals. So ours are focused in automotive and non-automotive, which is FMCG, FMB, and electronics and whatnot. So ASEAN 30 means our presence in ASEAN countries. So that's where we try to set up companies within in ASEAN region as well, and the grand vision of 1 billion. Okay, next. Okay, so why the MNC do not use Malaysian logistics service provider? So I noticed that a lot of MNC manufacturers, when they come in with the FDI, they bring their logistics company along because they don't want to teach us. They say, oh, I have to train your people and your people efficiency level is so low, blah, blah, blah. Then they get an MNC. The MNC bring in the gift to the MNC. The MNC also say the same thing, local people is too slow. I'm going to use foreign workers. So you go to the MNC warehouses, you will see a lot of foreign workers there. So there is nothing for Malaysia. When they leave our country, they will leave with the FDI, move to another country. They move, the logistics company will move, and then the foreign worker will go back to their home country and buy a farm or anything to grow. So, but then again, what is localization to us? So very important that we try to understand why they are not using Malaysian logistics company. First, we are not speaking the same language. We are not talking about English. I already show you just now. The efficiency and timeliness in Malaysia is very bad. So we need to know how to deliver on time. Low investment in ICT. We are not good in software. Even our customs supposed to invest 200 over million in software for over so many years. We keep on hearing them. In the future, custom clearance over a computer, no face-to-face anymore. Other countries doing it except us. Lack of skilled manpower. So we don't have enough logisticians, sorry. Okay, low awareness of environmental issue because Malaysians are typically, we don't care about environment. We're more focused on maximizing our value. Okay, if we buy 100,000 square feet of land, we build 100,000 square feet of warehouse. We don't leave some trees there, land for trees. Okay, poor knowledge and international experience, no certification, not investing in world-class infrastructure, and no branding. Okay, next. So to overcome that, we have invest into state-of-the-art infrastructure, invest in ICT software and whatnot, WMS, invest in manpower and trading, repatriate local experts. There's a lot of Malaysian overseas. We bring them back again. Implement a lot of sustainable CSR program, implement a lot of green concept facilities. So the last few speakers have been talking about it. Then we tell Malaysian government what's our problem. We need to move up the value chain. And also brand initiation and activation. Next. So Linda, this one you can move a bit faster. So we started all our hubs. We we try to showcase where is our logistics hub. We have one in the main port, Port Klang, one Eastern hub, one auto hub in Penang, and one Northern hub between Malaysia and Thailand. So we become transforming the logistics industry ourselves. Move on, next slide. Okay, so the ship was built in Port Klang, followed by second generation warehouse, the Wave. Now this Go Green concept ready, followed by our third warehouse. Next slide. The Lighthouse. Okay, Lighthouse win a lot of awards, including the first GBI Gold Standard warehouse with energy saving and whatnot. Okay, next slide. So we managed to create, including green lung, we have a pineapple plantation surrounding us. So this is a one logistics hub, 3 buildings talking to each other architecturally. Next. Okay, so from the aerial view, you can go to Google Map and enjoy looking at one logistics hub. Okay, next. Next. Okay, so in Penang is one auto hub, is 3 iconic buildings talking to each other. Also the 12 Wave, the ship campus, and the Lighthouse Lodge. Okay, so we built the 12 Waves. Next, please. We have 5 minutes only. Okay, so the overall view of the 3 iconic buildings, there was the one in the left is the first version. The one on the right is the 4th version. Next slide. So continue. This is a service area. For warehousing, we have a service area, means a food court for public to use. Next. Convenience store. Continue. Public toilets, surau as well. Next. This is our food court. Next. Okay, this is our new front desk. We don't have reception anymore. We behave like the Holiday Inn Express. Okay, in our front desk. Next slide. Linda. Okay, continue. Okay, so these are all our new offices, new concept, open concept. Continue, Linda, because these are all pictures only. 4th generation office, smart trucker lounge. We provide a lounge for the truck drivers, including shower facility for them. Okay, can continue, Linda. And also we built a Japanese garden. Okay, we never forget about environment as well. So we call it the Nature Walk Nest. Linda, continue. And this is our brochure. If you go to the Japanese garden, built by a Japanese architect, it's very beautiful. It's along the warehouse, inside the warehouse. Okay, so continue. So nobody would have thought garden can be inside a warehouse. This is our green lung. We even have a paddy field inside there. Okay, and this 12 Wave has won international awards. Next. Okay, next. No need, we skip the video, please. Okay, so you have won the FIAPSI award in Malaysia and the world as well. So in the world category, next slide. The World FIAPSI Award for the 12 Wave. So we have actually showcased to the whole manufacturing industry that local Malaysian company can also build a world-class warehouse. And therefore, we have hosted a lot of MNC inside there, and electronics company, Fortune 500 companies are all using us as a logistics. So we have come up with a very strong behind, and after we settle all the challenges facing my Malaysian logistics industry, and we have actually built a very good warehouse and host very good customers as well. So in front of the 12 Wave, also pictures behind here is the ship campus, where we put education next to us. As I tell you about the challenges, no local human resources, no expertise locally. So we start investing into our own future human resource capital. Okay, next slide. This is a cruise ship. We call it Royal Caribbean Voyager of the Sea. And this is the actual building here. Looks like a cruise ship. So it hosts Peninsula College, the ship campus, where we teach logistics and engineering and computing and whatnot that is relevant to the industry at the moment. So you can go through the slides some more. Just go through. Very big auditorium, behave just like a cruise ship, have a grand promenade, This is our library, casual study, all these things, a gym overlooking the sea, and Brighton beach boxes, student accommodation next to it, okay? Designer lounge in the student accommodation.
Your journey with the SHIP campus begins here. There are countless opportunities to learn outside the classroom at the SHIP campus. Here at the Opera Theatre, learning is amplified in this great hall that holds over 470 students. Learn in the morning with a lecturer or catch a live performance at night, only at the Opera Theatre. Our 3 futuristic command centers or computer labs are designed with cool themes, such as the Pentagon, Mars rover, and Millennium Falcon 2.0, and are fully equipped with the latest technology to help you gain access to new information and new ideas. The Francis Light Library is home to many informative books and resources that will expand your mind and your world. Choose between a quiet study area or kick back at our comfortable, relaxed study area. Just remember to keep your voice down. Right now, you're probably wondering where this ship has sailed to.
Study with your friends in private or hold group discussions at Brighton beach boxes.
Our theme study areas featuring some of the most iconic locations in the world. Relax and unwind with our amazing facilities. Get your tan on by the beach at our Bondi Beach interactive area. Choose some pool at the Wembley or sing your heart out at The Voice. Do all this and more aboard the SHIP campus. Remember, studying isn't just about books and lectures, it's about spending time with friends and enjoying the best years of our lives. Peninsula Student Residences is our signature student accommodation, mere footsteps away from the campus. Campus life has never been so stylish and chic. Chill out with your friends at our designer student lounges inspired by famed world explorers and exotic locations. Oh, and if you're craving for a snack, head over to the Windjammer Cafe and take a stroll at the sunset deck. And the best part? No matter where your academic journey takes you, Peninsula College is your start to a fulfilling campus life and education excellence. Located inside an industrial park, you can work part-time while studying with our Jom Bekerja Sambil Belajar program, where you can gain real-life work experience and equip yourself to be an employment-ready graduate. Let your dreams set sail at the SHIP Campus Penang's iconic education and lifestyle campus. How can you apply?
Okay, Linda, you can move to the last slide, second last slide, please. So these are our northern hubs. We just clear off all the site. This is another project that is ongoing between Malaysia and Thailand. The iconic building is the Rumah Tiang 12, followed by the One Eastern Hub, a Daiso Global Distribution Center in Pok Klang. And then all our collaboration with all the public universities and all our CSR program, which is Abib Anak Belajar Ibu Pekerja program, Penjana, and then Jom Bekerja Sambil Belajar, Jom Bersara Secara Sambilan, and all the green element that is created by us, our working culture, our mission statement. So okay, skip the last one, the video. This is our mission statement. We're talking about PKT being a socially responsible company, providing using local human resources. Like Habib, these are all the housewives and students as well in our warehouse instead of using foreign worker. Okay. Building environmentally friendly warehouses. Okay, all my warehouses are GPI standards. Opening up for the community and also the higher institution to engage with us. We don't want to be only for ourselves. The transformation journey is not only for making itself, the market share is so big. So I would like to invite all the Malaysians to come along together with this journey to make Malaysia the next ASEAN logistics hub. Okay, with that, I would like to finish my talk today with my philosophy: dream of it, talk about it, plan for it, work on it, and get it. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you Yang Berbahagia Datuk Seri Dr. Michael Teo.
Thank you.
Very interesting and fruitful sharing. From what I see, Malaysia is a trade-dependent economy that generates large amount of trade to be brought to and from global market. The logistic transformation is a key factor to ensure the relevancy and competitiveness of the nation toward the dynamic growth of economies. Yang Berbahagia Datuk Seri have portrayed the importance of transformation of logistics and transportation by his own research, experience, achievement, passion and dedication as a key player of the industry. The life testimony of achievement and the ability to remain relevant and competent with the global needs and transformation surely will become the inspiration to other industrial players in general and toward the young generation to success in any field that they endeavors, especially in the field of logistics and transportations. Once again, I would like to thank you, Yang Berbahagia Datuk Seri Dr. Michael Teo, for your time and insight. We look forward for fruitful and productive exchange and continuous cooperation and sharing between us. Thank you very much, Dato. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of our Secretariat, I will invite Puan Wan Mariam as a host for the next session and Yang Berbahagia Professor Dato Dr. Saharuddin, Dato Abdul Hamid as the second preliminary speaker for Ai-Mast2021.
Okay, thank you Encik Muhammad Sharifuddin. Michael Teo, our plenary speaker, Professor Dato Dr. Saharuddin, Dato Muhammad Hamid, and our distinguished guests and all participants. I am Wan Mariam Wan Abdullah, a maritime law lecturer from Faculties of Maritime Studies, University Malaysia, Terengganu. It is an honor to chair this plenary session to my mentor and renowned professor in maritime policy and management. With great pleasure, let me introduce you Professor Dato Dr. Saharuddin Dato Abdul Hamid, our plenary speaker for this session. Let me brief his biography a little bit. After obtaining his master's under the prestigious Japanese Mambusho Scholarship at Tokyo University of Fisheries in 1985, he pursued his PhD in Maritime Policy and Resource Management with a Commonwealth Scholarship at the University of Wales, Cardiff, United Kingdom. He is with the University Malaysia Terengganu since 1990, and his research interests include maritime developmental policy as well as marine environment and resource management. Ocean and maritime affairs have really inspired Professor Dato Dr. Saharuddin. He started working on the establishment of maritime management program in late 1990s and became the first maritime program in Malaysia. He and his team later on founded the Faculty of Maritime Studies and Marine Science at the University of Malaysia Terengganu in 2006 and became the first dean of the faculty until 2012. Among other positions he held, Dean of UMT Postgraduate School, Director of UMT Co-Curriculum Center, and he is now the Director of UMT Alumni Center. He is an editorial board member and panel reviewer of local and international journals such as ICMAL Maritime Journal, International Journal of Sustainability Science and Management, International Journal on Marine Navigation and Safety of Sea Transportation, Transnav, and recently the International E-Navigation and Maritime Economy Journal. He is also a fellow of the Institute of Marine Engineering, Science and Technology, FIMAREST, a member of the Malaysian Maritime Institute, MIK, and a chartered member of Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport Malaysia. He is also a panel auditor of the Malaysian Qualification Agency, MQA, and Higher Institution Center of Excellence, High COE, under the Higher Education Ministry. As a recognition of his works in maritime policy and management, he was nominated by the Science, Technology and Innovation Ministry, MOSTI, to be included in the UNESCO IOC list of experts on marine scientific research for the use in special arbitration of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea at the International Maritime Organization's Marine Environmental Protection Committee meeting in London, United Kingdom in 2010. He also represented Malaysia at the International Workshop on Cooperation and Development in the South China Sea, organized by CIMA in Beijing in August 2011. He is also not a stranger to Ai-Mast conference. He was invited as a guest speaker at Ai-Mast seminar in 2012 and Ai-Mast conference in 2014. He was also invited as a guest lecturer at Mopo National Maritime University, South Korea in 2018. And today, Professor Dato Dr. Saharuddin will talk about sustainability for strategic revolution through universal accessibility in maritime industry. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Dato Dr. Saharuddin Dato Abdul Hamid. Yokoso Onigashimasu, Kyoju Dr. Saharuddin.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala washabihi ajmain. Praise to Allah. Inshallah, with God's will, I will try to deliver something new to me, but I'll take the challenge to deliver this paper. First of all, thank you, Puan Mariam, to host this my plenary speech. And well, let me say some disclaimer on this topic. When I suggested the topic to me, I was thinking that to myself that this is quite a very big topic, very conceptual with the big words that you can see from the topic, and if I don't address it well, I might be in trouble. But I'll take the challenge to address, and of course, I'll try to address it well in this paper. Now, I would like to convey, first of all, my appreciation to the faculty members of the Faculty Organization Committee, inviting me to deliver this plenary speech. And I would like to thank my colleague, Captain Dr. Rizal Karim, for helping me to explore the key concepts and terms behind this topic and came up with this paper. So let's move to the talk on what I'm going to talk today on sustainability for strategic devolution through universal accessibility in maritime industry. Now, if you look at the topic, there are three big words, key concept that need to be addressed. That is the sustainability, the universal accessibility, strategic revolution to determine the future of our maritime industry. So if you look at the concept of life, it automatically life means L, sustainability, integration, which means that you have to get the integration for all aspects of the maritime industry, and you have to, of course, how do you want to strategize and revolute the energy by using energy, which I think encompass the whole encompass the whole terms, the whole topic, the whole paper. Now, looking at I guess everybody understood what I talk about maritime industry profile. The partnership, MC in 2008 reported that identified the following 9 key industries of the blue economy. There is the fisheries and aquaculture, port shipping and marine transport, tourism, resorts and coastal development, oil and gas, coastal manufacturing, seabed mining, renewable energy, and marine biotech, and marine technology and environmental services. So these are some of the maritime industry aspect that when you talk about maritime industry, these are the what I call this, the subjects that we are discussed and have been discussed in great length about all these subjects. Okay. Now, let me just go through these three big words, these three terms: the strategic revolution, the sustainability, and accessibility. Okay, let's go to strategic revolution. What do you mean by strategic revolution? Most of us have that in mind, that you need a strategic methods. You need to think strategic, okay, to do any jobs at all. Okay, when you talk about revolution in the maritime industry, that is the word that used today, strategic revolution of the maritime industry. So how do you want to achieve it? But before that, let me just explain. Andy Gardner, in his book, in his article, saying that the strategic revolution explained the three aspects, and these would create a strategic revolution concept. These three aspects create a strategic revolution concept are: firstly, you must understand the context that one should be aware of. You must understand the context that one should be aware of, who are the real stakeholders and what are they trying to achieve. Okay, that's the first. The second, Andy Gardner says, to realize the change in thinking process impacting their behavior, how they adapt their behavior into this change in their thinking process. And the third, to recognize all the interest party, the multi-party interest, and of course, a lot of conflicts of interest within the party or between the parties. Okay, so these are the three aspects that Andy Gardner put forward, explaining the strategic revolution. Now, let's move to the second terms, the universal accessibility. Right. So, these terms, universal is a big word. Universal accessibility has been discussed in United Nations. They came out with a Convention on the Right of Persons, CRDP, in 2006, with disability and its optional protocols, and it was adopted on 13 December 2006 and was open for signature on 30th March 2007. Now, this convention follows decades of work by the UN to change attitudes and approaches to persons with disability. The focus was for person who's disabled person. It takes a new height to view person with disabled as an object of charity, medical treatment, and social protection as subject rights. So they are trying to change the attitude or the thinking of, instead of thinking of object of charity, you should think about subject rights, who are capable of claiming those rights and making decisions for their life based on their free and informed consent, as well as being active members of society. Now, the convention is actually intended as a human rights instrument with an explicit social development dimension. It adopts a broad categorization of disabilities and reaffirms that all persons with all types of disability must enjoy all human rights and fundamental freedom. Now, moving to the next slide. Universal accessibility is one of the 50 articles states in Article 1. What does Article 1 says? The purpose of the present convention is to promote, protect, and ensure the full and equal enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms by all persons with disability. And of course, to promote respect for their inherent dignity, and persons who are disabled includes those who have long-term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairments, which in interaction with various barriers may hinder their full and effective participation in society and on equal basis with others. So this convention makes it the largest of human rights artifacts of the 21st century, with vision of inclusion, right to life, equality, non-discrimination, liberty, protection, integrity, health, education, family, work, and employment through accessibility. Okay. Now, moving to the next slides. Now, you're talking about accessibility and also universal accessibility design. How do you want to design the universal accessibility? The definition of universal design support the belief of what has been said before. However, a scholar by the name of Massey in 1998 provided an economic view of this approach. And he argued that universal design broadly defined the users. It focused not specifically on people with disability, but all people of all over the world. And he analyzed the principle of, by analyzing the principle of universal design together with its definition, it is possible to prove that spaces, products, and services designed according to this approach do not include dedicated solution, but do promote design for the entire population of the world, implying a good relationship between quality and price. So having understood that, another version or another what I call it, accessibility aspect, that it can act as a system enhancement tool. For I'm taking an example of every QMS, the quality management system, has its tiers of policy and procedures which are deployed through various objective strategies and tactics. And accessibility is a vision which could have positive impact on each tier of QMS elements, that is the policy to expand the periphery of the industry in the consideration, which is the maritime industry. It has the objective of improving mass well-being, which could be a process or processes for better design, meaning that accessibility can act as a system enhancement tool. Therefore, accessibility can be introduced or could be introduced as a tool with every quality system, for example, to get their performance and compliance, like the ISO 901, ISO 14000 environmental quality, and ISO 18001, the OSHA. Now, having understood accessibility, how do you want to measure accessibility values? Because you must know the values to measure, you must know what values to measure, but it's very, very, qualitative measures that you need to understand. But user accessibility principle could contribute towards creating social and economic advantage. And as I say, it would be difficult to measure in the monetary terms, the non-monetary terms, direct or indirect, or in private and public sector policy, product or service level. However, there is an alternative approach, like one of the Nobel laureate from India, Amartya Sen, came out with the capability theory in if I'm not mistaken, in 1991, could be useful in evaluating the accessibility values, such as social and economic benefits of universal accessibility design of space, object, and services. Now, sustainability. I think this is a term that everybody can understand. Yeah, I think most of us would address these sustainability terms very well. So, what is the actual meaning of sustainability? Generally, in general terms, three pillars are installed in sustainability. There is the environmental sustainability, the economic sustainability, and of course, the social sustainability, which build the pillars of sustainability. Sustainability of environment, ability to maintain rates of renewable resources, harvest pollution, for example, creation, and non-renewable resources depletion, that be continued indefinitely. And you talk about economic sustainability, is the ability to support a defined level of economic production indefinitely. And when you're talking about social sustainability, it is the ability to a social system, such as a country, to function at a defined level of social well-being indefinitely. Now, having understood the general statement of, or the general three pillars of sustainability, the understanding of sustainability, there are other concepts too, brought forward by many scholars. And these are the elements of sustainability which I think may be familiar or unfamiliar with some of us. These concepts have been put forward by many scholars. We have three aspects: the systems, the values, and the growth and well-being. And look at a system, you're talking about human system, you're talking about ecological system, and both of these systems, when you mix together, when you go together, it becomes the whole social ecological system. And what are the values? And talking about monetary values, you are talking about other values, but these are the values which have been put forward by the scholars. The exchange values, the consumers, okay, the consumers, and labor values, the workers, the labor power, the use value, the utility for communities. After you have the people has understood the exchange values, the consumers, back to the communities to use the utility prepared for them. And of course, one more values that included in this element of sustainability is the environmental values, the fund values, which talks about supplies, waste, genetics, and biodiversity. And last but not least, we're talking about economy, the growth and well-being of the human, of the people. Green economy, which talks about natural capital of the resources, okay? And blue economy, talking about the marine environment, talking about how to sustain the marine environment in an economical way. And of course, the circular economy is about conservation, recycling, refurbishment of any items that need not to be thrown, but can be recycled and refurbished back for the circular economy. And last but not least, the political economy or the well-being of the people, where political and economy is the two terms that have mixed together to come up with the political economy, well-being of the people. Right. Now, putting all together in one module, where you can see from the column of 3 columns that I put in the slides, who are maritime stakeholders? You can divide that into 3. Basically, the maritime industry subsectors, the society and the communities, and individuals and maritime consumers. And what is the attempts to get the accessibility? For example, maritime industry subsectors, you have to introduce and implement accessibility conventions. You have to implement law and policy and design in maritime product services. And impacts to sustainability is economic inclusion, of course, causing growth of the maritime industry. Now, society and communities, what are the attempts that accessibility can do? Developing a vision of inclusion, right to life, equality, non-discrimination, liberty, protection, integrity, health, education, family, work, and employment, as what has been mentioned in the convention, the CDRP convention. And the impacts are towards more equality and equitable society, limiting overconsumption, leading to environment protection and conservancy. And last, the individual and maritime consumers, the attempt is for individuals has the capable of claiming every right and making decisions for their own life based on their free and informed consent, as well as being active members of society, also been mentioned in the convention. And what are the impacts? Of course, the lowering the risk of being excluded and ensuring maximum rights for the most vulnerable individuals. Okay. Now, how do you apply that the functions in the industry, in the maritime industry, the sustainability functions? Okay. This has been discussed recently in one of the conference in Southeast Asia in Singapore, which some of the scholars came out with this model. Okay, inspire, inclusion, and connectivity, which means you have to invest, you have to inspire people, you have to include them, you have to connect them to create relationship with stakeholders that fashions more sustainable growth. And for environmental responsibility, I think it's very straightforward that you have to reduce the carbon emission, you have to endeavor to create less waste, you have to consider sustainability credential of forward and backward linkage within the industry. And looking at social and ethical wokeness, considering accessibility and well-being, doing business safety and ethically, creating positive impact on sustainable cities, life on land and life underwater, and measuring sustainability impacts against meaningful KPIs. These are some of the examples that may be applied to these 3 terms in sustainability functions in the maritime industry. Now, another module, how does that the two terms, universal accessibility and sustainability function, which later we can relate that in the maritime industry. There are 7 aspects: the innovation and motivation, the environmental and other responsibility, legal and ethical aspect, well-being and capability aspect, safety and security elements aspect, positive impacts on life and cities, and improve public policy and measured sustainability. These are the 7 aspects or 7 elements which can be included and showing the relationship between universal accessibility and sustainability function in the maritime industry. And I have explained some of the aspects in the previous slides. Now, putting together, how do you want to position the accessibility? Looking at this graph and looking at this diagram, you have whole picture, the great picture of sustainable, how to get sustainable development of the maritime industry, and within that you have the functions, and with that you have sustainability criteria. And one of the criteria that depicts sustainability criteria is the universal accessibility. So this program shows how are they connected with each other, and these 4 big term aspect in this graph clearly shows that they are related to each other. Now, just passing through comment on using the indicator, civilizational value indicator. We have 9 terms atau 9 aspects of 9 indicators, sorry. And how do you want to test accessibility as a sustainability contributor? So as you can see from the democratic, participatory, inclusive, consultative leadership, non-exclusive society, having equity and equality, knowledge-based society, informed and intelligent decision-making, well-being of mass population measured in capability, the public trust enhancement. So these are something that you can question how accessibility can evaluate these values, this indicator of civilizational value. It's just an example, taking the civilizational value as an indicator to look at how accessibility can be impacted. As a conclusion in my talk, sustainability is not an event but value system within any industry. Anything which incorporates democracy, participation, inclusion, non-exclusive and consultative leadership style, knowledge-based society, informed, intelligent decision-making for mass well-being and public trust enhancement of the industry will be considered as sustainability contributors, as what I explained in the previous slide. You can put this together in one conclusion. And of course, when you talk about accessibility, is a policy capable of interpreting such civilizational values, as I mentioned just now, I explained just now, essentially enhance sustainability, which again acknowledge and resolve stakeholders' conflict of interest, leading to what we want and what we request or want to be strategic revolution within the maritime industry. Thank you. Puan Mariam.
Okay, thank you, Professor Dato Dr. Saharuddin, for your very interesting talk on the sustainability for strategic revolution through universal accessibility in maritime industry. It is very inspiring and very knowledgeable. And Professor Dato Dr. Saharuddin has given us very interesting insights on the importance of integrating strategically between social, economic, and social challenges to achieve sustainable development in maritime industry through universal accessibility. And he has listed 7 aspects, the universal accessibility in maritime industry, for example, innovation and motivation. And he viewed that accessibility is as a policy is capable of incorporating such civilizational values, essentially enhances sustainability, which acknowledges and resolves stakeholders' conflict of interest, leading to strategic revolution within maritime industry. And due to the time constraint, I would welcome one question from the floor. Please welcome. Any question from the floor? If there is no question, we have come to the end of the session, and thank you again, Professor Dato Dr. Saharuddin, for the insights and for the sharing of the insights. And thank you for all the participants. And we hope to see you again in Ai-Mast conference next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.